Hi everybody! Welcome to my very first edition of Festive Fridays for 2016. Starting this today, August 5th, and each Friday through the end of the year, I plan to host Festive Fridays on my blog post. It could be a video or it could simply be photographs of holiday projects, holiday cards. It could be Christmas, it could be Halloween, Thanksgiving, New Year's, anything like that. Something patriotic perhaps for Labor Day or Veterans Day. But I hope you will tune in to Stampin' Peace every Friday for Festive Fridays. And if you are loving my blog posts and don't want to miss any, you can subscribe to have my blog post emailed directly to you each day. And you can do that by entering the information on subscribe to my blog on the home page. So let me get started with showing you what today's feature is for the first Festive Friday. Recently I held a Christmas in July class. From now through November, I am hosting one holiday class, Christmas class per month. In addition to that, I'll also be hosting some other festive classes, Halloween, Thanksgiving, what have you, as well as all occasion classes, masculine cards, birthday cards, etc. So, but this is one we made in our Christmas in July class. I think it's absolutely darling. It's an idea I cased from one of my team members, Jamie Sider. She used this layout for a card swap we had with our team, I believe in the spring. So her wreath was decorated in spring colors, more light greens, pastel, and of course I think she used a little pink in there. Seems to be Jamie's signature color. So let's get started and I'll show you how you can make this too. Okay, I believe we are ready with everything in place. The first step to making this holiday door card is to use the hardwood background stamp. Okay, I already have my card base cut. I'm using crumb cake and I have it measured 5.5 by 8.5 and it's scored at 4.25 inches, a standard A2 size card. Okay, now I'm going to use this hardwood stamp to create the wood grain on the door. I will tell you, typically we stamp this way or ink up our stamps this way. However, when there's something this large, I prefer to do it this way. Number one, it's hard to grip that stamp in my hand, and number two, this allows me to make sure I have it well covered, to be able to see exactly where the ink is, to know I have it everywhere. And I did want to tell you I am stamping with soft suede ink. Okay, now here's a fun quick trick so you don't have to get your fingers messy, and it works great on these grid sheets. What you're going to do is just carefully set your card base there. I just have to check my fingernails because sometimes I pick up a little bit of ink and you don't want to be smearing that on the rest of your card. Fold over your grid paper or scrap paper, whatever you use, and just with a flat hand smooth it all the way around, making sure you can feel the edges. Okay, you're going to pull this back and voila, you've got that on your card base. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside. I am going to give this a moment to dry some darker pigments, and you can see this time, before I was using craft ink, this time I decided I wanted to change it up a little bit, so I decided to use soft suede ink on the crumb cake cardstock. So you can play around with it. You can do a white door, you know, just whatever your preference is, make it fun. Okay, now that that's dry, we need to add a curve to our door. I guess you don't have to, but on my card, we're making it an arched door. So I am using one of, yes, I know it's a retired product, but I love them. I will never give up my Circle Framelits collection dies. So if you have those, this is the largest of the circles. If you don't, use a small plate, a large mug, anything you have that you can trace a circle on. With this pencil, I'm tracing the outside of this framelit to get that arch. I don't know if you can see that well in the video, but I did trace the arch. And I'm going to use my scissor snips to cut right along that. And I am cutting through both layers of cardstock. Okay, I'm going to set that aside for now. I'm getting a little bit of ink on my fingers. I guess I have that inked up pretty well and drying, but it smudged a little bit, but it really, I don't think you can even notice because of the wood grain. I will tell you, I'm not going to adhere my doorknob just yet because I want to make sure I get it in the right place after I put the wreath on. But I have a strip of our gold foil paper and I have the owl builder punch that I'm using to cut the circles. Okay. So that will make a nice doorknob for my card. And like I said, I'm not going to adhere it just yet because I want to make sure I have it properly spaced when I get the wreath added. Okay, so now I'm going to, with Real Red, stamp the bow and the ribbon wreath hanger. Okay, and I'm using Real Red for this. And I'm stamping them in such a way that I'm going to be able to cut out both of these at the same time, along with my wreath, okay? At this point, while your red is still open, while your Real Red is still open, and you are letting those dry for a moment, you can go ahead and stamp the flap of your envelope. I just stamped part of, I'm going to do it up here because I'm going off the paper, part of that ribbon wreath hanger, okay, and then I'm going to stamp the bow to go with it. Okay, super easy, so I'll set that aside. I'm going to leave my red ink, Real Red ink right here because I am going to be using that some more. So now we need to stamp the wreath, and the wreath is stamped with the Wondrous Wreath Stamp Set. Okay, you can see it has lots of pieces. You can see I've already pulled the bow and the ribbon hanger. I'm going to be using these three to stamp the wreath, and it even comes with, or it does have a coordinating framelit set, Wonderful Wreath Framelits. So it's always nice to have coordinating products. One of my favorite things about Stampin' Up. Okay, so we're going to use those three, and I've already marked these. Set that aside. I've already marked these, what order I'm going to stamp them in, 1, 2, and 3, okay? And I'm going to be using Garden Green for my stamping of the leaves. And I want to show you how I do this. The first stamp, as you can see, has several leaves on it. Pretty much the entire wreath area is all leaves. So if you notice on my sample, I have a light color green and I have a darker color green. They were both done with the Garden Green ink pad. The technique you'll use here to get that lighter shade is calling Stamp Off. So I'm inking up my wreath. I'm stamping off. That means I'm taking off some of the ink that's on there, and I'm stamping with what's left, okay? And that's how I get that lighter shade. And you can tell this is much lighter than that. If you want it even lighter, you can stamp once, you can stamp off twice, and I'll do it on the back of this. And you can stamp a third time. So you see the difference? It's really just a matter of personal preference, what you would like. So, okay, I'm going to go back to my original. I've stamped with number 1. Also notice that each of these 3 stamp images has a tab. Keep that tab towards the top when you're stamping, and that will help you line these leaves up. Okay. Now to do the next one, I have my tab at the top. I'm going to line up, which is super easy with these photopolymer stamps because you can see right through them. I'm going to do my best to line them up. If it's not perfect, don't worry, it's leaves on a wreath. It really won't matter. And you're simply going to press down. Notice I did not stamp off this time because I want the full color. Okay, and there you can see the difference in the lighter shade of garden green when I stamped off to the darker shade when I did not stamp off. And my final part of stamping the wreath is to stamp the red berries. Again, the tab is at the top. Tap, tap, tap in my real red ink pad. And there you go. Isn't it beautiful? Okay, so I have all my stamping finished, so I want to, before I do anything else, close up my ink pads and move all of my inky stamps out of the way. I'm sure you know how that is. Sometimes you've left it too close to your work area, and darn it, don't you smudge the card in it or put your finger in it, ends up with a smudge on your card. So there you have it. Now it's time to bring in my Big Shot. And I always have to stand up when I use my Big Shot. So I've got my magnetic platform with one of the cutting plates down. You can see that mine are, let's just say, well-loved. Well-loved sounds better than well-worn. It just means that they've gotten a whole bunch of use, and I'm thrilled about that. That's what we want. Now, when you put this on here, you want to keep in mind where your top was, because the framelit also has a tab there, okay? So this is the outside. Okay, I'm just trying to line it up as evenly around the whole wreath as I can. And then I'm going to take the inside. Again, there is a tab there to help me. Okay, this one's a little trickier because it's covering up part of what we want to cut out. Okay, but no worries. It typically turns out pretty darn well. And at the end of this video, I'll also show you a trick. If you are a super perfectionist, I will show you a trick that you might want to try as well. For me, the way I'm doing it right now is a little bit of a time saver for me. Okay, and I'm going to add my bow and, whoops, my bow and my ribbon piece here. And again, just trying to line it up so it's evenly spaced all the way around. Okay, top cutting plate on, and I can cut all of these out all at once. I'm going to roll them back and forth, and punch them out. And those are the 3 pieces that I will be adding to my card front. Okay, so continuing on, I'm going to take these pieces off and set my Big Shot aside. And this is what I have. And now I'm going to finish putting my actual card together. The first thing I'm going to put on is this, what I call the ribbon hanger. Okay, and I don't want my wreath real far down. I'm putting it, I like it closer to the top of the door, so I'm not putting this all the way down. I just attached it, and I'm going to trim off this little bit on the top, but that's your personal preference. Then I'm going to put down my wreath. And then lastly, I'm going to attach the bow. And the bow is the perfect thing to put some dimensionals on. I've got some little pieces here. Sometimes I cut them and take these little tiny pieces off the edges when the regular size dimensional is too large. So I'm just going to add it like that. I'm finished there, and the final piece is adding that gold foil doorknob. So there you have it. Super cute card. Super cute. Love it. So thanks for joining me for my first Festive Friday. That I would like to show you another way to stamp and cut the wreath out. And the reason for that is, and you can kind of see on both of these, I believe, remember when we were when I was putting down the center framelit to cut out the center of the wreath, I said it was hard because you couldn't see real well. You can see, like, here I'm off a little bit, here I'm right on, but here I'm off. There is a way to work around that. You can see it here too, that I'm off a little bit on all those. Chances are the people you're sending the cards to won't even notice because they are going to be so wowed by your fabulous stamping. But if you are super particular, I am going to show you how to get around that problem. What you're going to do is put the framelit down, the smallest one, in the center of your paper with the tab at the top, because I'm stamping with the tab at the top as well. Set this aside. Okay, punch out that piece and pull up my framelit. So this is what I have to work with, okay? So I'm going to bring back my garden green. I'm going to do some stamping off. And then I am going to, I'm trying not to do this without getting my head in the way too much, but maybe do it over here and then I'll slide it back in. What I'm doing is, because this is a photopolymer set, it's going to be easy for me to see where the stamp should go. So I'm putting it down now. What I've done is matched up the stamped leaves, with the ones that were cut out, with the edges that were cut out with the framelit first. Okay. And then I'm going to go back in and do stamp number 2 in the garden green. Again, I'm pulling it closer to me so I can kind of get this matched up without you having to look at the top of my head. So hopefully it's working. Okay, Didn't quite get it lined up there, but you get the idea. And finally, I'm stamping the berries again. My tab is at the top. Okay, so this is what you have at that point. It looks like this. Okay, so then you would go back in with your other framelit. Again, the tab is at the top, so you would want to match this up. And you're then going to run that through the Big Shot. Okay, so you can see it's a little bit more even all the way around than perhaps it was on the other ones. But honestly, I don't think it makes that big of a difference that I would even choose to do this. I like the time-saving method of doing this, where I cut both the inside and outside edges of the wreath at the same time in the Big Shot. So, but there is another little tip. Thank you once again for joining me at Stampin' Peace. And please return soon if you are loving these videos and my blog posts and photographs of cards. Please subscribe to my blog. You can do that on the right-hand column of my home page. And all you have to do is enter your email address and first and last name. And that way you will get all of my blog posts directed to your email. Have a great day.